and welcome to this week's Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White, and as ever, I'm joined by our royal editor Chris Shipp and royal producer Lizzie Robinson. We're going to be bringing you up to speed on the latest stories from the palace and beyond. And actually, you were at Diana's family home, Althorpe, last week. How come?
Althorpe or Althrup? There's the question. Yes.
So I think it was Althrup traditionally, but now it's spelled Althorpe, and now
everyone says Althorpe, but apparently, because there was something in the back of my head when we were driving there about how you pronounce it. Might be interesting to some people, might be really uninteresting to everybody else. And actually, somebody called me and said, just checking how you pronounce it, because they had a similar question in their mind. Anyway, we asked Earl Spencer, Diana's brother, and it is Althrup.
Is it?
Which is kind of the name traditionally, historically. It's been in the family since 1508. That house.
Yep.
You're saying yes because you know, or yes because
I know. It's been in the Spencer family for about 500 years, so that sounds about right.
But he said Althorpe, so we went with Althorpe.
Althorpe.
Yeah, I think now they go with either.
Okay. But why does it matter? Well, it matters because it's the childhood home of Princess Diana, but also her final resting place. Anyone who watched that funeral in 1997 will know after the big event at Westminster Abbey, her coffin was taken all the way up to Northamptonshire.
You followed the drive, the helicopters and the cameras followed that drive up.
People throwing flowers.
They kept having to stop to clear the flowers off the windscreen because there were so many, weren't there? But that's her final resting place. Actually, we saw it, didn't we? I mean, it's the first time I've seen it as well, and it's quite peaceful, very serene. It's an island in the middle of a lake. And you have to get a boat to this little island. It's not really, I'm not talking about the side of the Isle of Wight. It is a smallish island.
Yeah.
You get a little boat across to it, and only family members are allowed over there to visit the grave. So whilst the house is open to members of the public, sometimes during the summer, no one can actually go.
Can you
visit the site.
Like a headstone or something?
No. It's very lots of bushes and trees on the island. There is a memorial next to the lake, and we'll tell you about the choir that we saw singing in front of it in just a moment. But actually, as for the grave, that's out of bounds.
So very private.
It's very private. It's very tranquil. As Chris says, you can walk around the lake. Members of the public, when the house is open, can walk around the lake. That's as far as we got because the island in the middle is reserved just for the closest members of our family. And actually, in Prince Harry's memoir Spare, he talks about how in 2022, when him and Meghan were in the UK, they were here for a series of events. He took Meghan to Althorpe, and he said, it was always incredibly difficult. It is always incredibly difficult going to visit his mother's grave, but it was particularly difficult that year because it was the 25th anniversary, and it was also the first time he'd ever taken Meghan, and he describes taking her over in the little boat and needing some help from his uncle to get the boat out of the muddy shore to get over, and how he had a moment at the grave, but also Meghan did. And he asked her afterwards what she prayed about, and she said that she was asking for clarity and for guidance.
Wow. And he stayed there recently. We talked about that last week, didn't we?
Yes, so obviously Charles Spencer is his uncle, and he came over for a funeral and stayed with Charles Spencer at Althorpe. So for all we know, he might well have gone back and visited the grave. We weren't told. But the reason we were there, though, was for the Diana Award, because whilst, as you said, what Lizzie was just saying, it's 25 years since the death of Diana was a couple of years ago. The Diana Award was created a couple of years after her death, so they're now celebrating their 25th anniversary. And the rock choir, apparently I'm told it's the largest contemporary choir in the world. There's 30,000 members in the UK. Not all 30,000 were at Althorpe last Friday.
Although it would be big enough. Althorpe the grounds are, it is beautiful. They're huge. Yeah.
As you drive in, we were saying, well, I have similar problems when I go to my house. There were like deer in the way, there's pheasants running under the car, sheep everywhere. Yeah. So not dissimilar to when you go home in the evening, I'm sure. So,
oh, yeah, we have like a ton of deer and what have you in the grounds when I have to clear it.
And grouse.
But I get driven up.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. After I drive myself, that's preposterous. But yeah, so you were there for the Diana Award. Did you speak to Charles Spencer, Earl Spencer?
We did, yeah. He was very nice. He gave us an interview about the Diana Award and what it meant, and the fact that they were singing. He opened his house to the rock choir and said, "Let's sing wherever you want." They're making a video, so they were singing "Make Your Own Kind of Music," and what we were told, weren't they? They chose that because there was some kind of Diana-esque kind of links there. You know, she made her own way in the world. She made her own kind of music, if you like, in the royal family. And they were singing this this song outside the front of the house, outside the Diana Memorial. They did it inside the house on the big
big staircase.
What's it called, the study? Or it looked like a massive staircase to me, but it was another big room. In fact, when we interviewed Lord Spencer in the study with a billiard table at one end and books and books and books at the other end, it was this beautiful long room.
Library.
He was room. Yes,
Library.
You wouldn't call it a room. I think room would be to do it a disservice.
I think that the library we were in.
Just to clarify, Lizzie, because Chris didn't know the word, library.
Library, yeah.
It's a place where you get books. Yeah. And yes, we spoke to him about not just Diana Award. I did ask him about William and Harry as well, and the fact that, of course, the Diana Award is a charity in their mother's name.
Yes.
And yet, whilst they both do raise funds for it and they both support it, clearly, at the moment, they can't do it at the same time in the same place. And, I mean, his answer, I don't know whether we've got the answer, but his answer was about the fact, well, they do still support it. But when I went further and said, well, you know, are you hopeful in the future? What might happen? The answers were less forthcoming. In other words, look, I'm the uncle. I'm close to both of my nephews. I'm not going to, you know, for the sake of your camera being here, going to get involved and step into a public discussion about William and Harry's relationship. So those answers were less forthcoming, but one of them was.
All right, let's take a listen.
I think the most important thing is that they both recognise that this is something of their mothers, and they both support that, and that's really all that matters in this situation.
Oh, very diplomatic.
That's really all that matters. And then the next question, do you hope they might one day be able to campaign or support Diana Award in the same room at the same time? And he didn't.
It would have been amazing, because the work the Diana Award does is incredible. I've done quite a few bits and pieces for them. So
They're brilliant.
For them both to come together to celebrate those 25 years would have been so impactful. But, you know, we could talk forever about brothers needing
Things they could have done together. Or the impact that Meghan could have had she stayed in the royal family. We could,
you know, because, you know, Tessie Ojo, who runs the Diana Award, it would be absolutely perfect to have the four of them celebrate the work that her and the organisation does.
Tessie Ojo is a phenomenal character, actually. She's been with, although she's been the chief executive for about 20 years or something, she's actually been with the Diana Award since the very beginning, since day one. So she's, really...
Even just to reflect the good work that she's done and the organisation has done to just... I don't want to say for them to all kind of get over themselves and their differences, but it would have been nice.
I mean, the boys, Harry and William, they do, as Earl Spencer said, they do still support it. They just can't. They just can't do it together. And the other thing about Althorpe that is particularly interesting before we move on is that it is where Diana first met the then Prince Charles. He was there in, I think, 1977 on a shoot. He was seeing her sister at the time.
A film shoot or a grouse shoot?
That kind of shoot, and that's
as
that's
Prince
how they
Andrew
met.
would say, the sort of a regular shooting party.
Yes, exactly. And that's how they first
met. Nice segue, but it came a bit early because we're doing Prince Andrew later.
Yeah, it did come a bit early. Literally, I explained to you how this whole podcast thing works.
Have your script.
You have your script.
And you keep just doing your own thing.
I thought it was such a good segue, I had to sort of put it there. But anyway, carry on. Actually, one way we could move on from this is to get Lizzie to sing Make Your Own Kind of Music.
Oh, no, nobody.
Although I would
nobody
prefer you
that.
singing it than Chris.
No, nobody wants that.
But talking to Harry and the Diana Trust, he's been in New York. I saw the pictures of him in New York. So, you know, we were talking about him doing it separately. They were doing it separately. He got on stage in New York and was talking about the impacts of the Diana Award and also talking to some of the young people that were involved in the award as well, wasn't he?
He was there yesterday. We're recording Tuesday, so this was on Monday this week, and he was doing, he's in New York doing several events. And actually, when you look at the events he's doing, a lot of them have links to his mother. So he was at a Diana Award event yesterday. He was also at a Halo Trust Award. That is a charity that works with the issue of landmines. It was an issue that Diana campaigned a lot on, and it's something
famous
has...
picture of Diana walking through the minefield in Angola, which Harry actually repeated when we went to Africa with him. It wasn't in the same place because actually, amazingly, the place where Diana did it is now part of a town. But Harry did a very similar walk just down the road. Or actually might have been quite a way down the road. But
he was saying yesterday actually how his mother would be horrified at the fact that landmines is such an issue still, 27 years after she passed away. So, but yes, I mean, he has spoken a lot in the past about wanting to continue her legacy, and you can see in the work that he continues to do, like in New York with the Diana Award and also the Halo Trust.
Well, let's take a listen to him.
I know that my mum would be incredibly proud of you guys.
Short but sweet there from Harry, short but sweet.
The young people that were on stage with Harry yesterday were incredibly impressive. I mean, they really were. And like, we've met lots of people from the Diana Award, and they really are incredible, I guess, ambassadors for the work that the Diana Award does.
Yeah.
It's really brilliant.
I mean, the work they do, and even, you know, the confidence that it gives them, but also how it gives them different options in terms of what they then go on to do in their
platform,
lives.
doesn't it, that it offers them.
Yeah, it's hugely empowering. Emily Maitlis is back in the news regarding her interview with Prince Andrew, that infamous interview like 5 years ago.
The story that never...
2019, wasn't it?
2019,
Yeah.
November 2019,
Yes.
this must feel, you know, that it's never going to go away.
Well, no, it
every
doesn't.
time,
Because
you
it
know,
doesn't.
It doesn't. I mean, who knew that in
why-
2024 it's not just one drama we needed about that interview, we needed
I'm not
two.
quite sure why we needed two.
Yeah.
Different people pushing different agendas, perhaps. But as I always say, I mean, the most dramatic thing about that whole event was the interview.
Yeah.
So actually, if you want to go and watch some drama, just go back and watch Emily Maitlis' original interview in 2019. But we've now got a second one out, which it's got obviously Prince Andrew. What I meant was it's got Michael Sheen.
Playing Prince Andrew
and Ruth Wilson.
Yeah.
Playing Emily Maitlis. So a different cast, but basically running over the whole same ground.
Yeah, we all know the story, we all know the outcome, but what this does is by having a second dramatisation within a year, this is 3 parts, this one, we had Scoop earlier in the year, but by having this, it puts it back in everyone's minds again, doesn't it? It reminds us about the interview, about the fallout, about the fact that Prince Andrew didn't show any regret for his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. He didn't show any remorse for the victims, even when Emily Maitlis at the time gave him the opportunity to show those things. And I think it just reminds everybody, and reputationally, it's incredibly damaging to be played out again, not only for Prince Andrew, but also for the royal family.
Yeah, OK, let's take a listen. And just to clarify, they're not listening to the real interview, we're listening to a dramatisation of that interview.
Your Royal Highness, we've come to Buckingham Palace in highly unusual circumstances. Normally, we'd be discussing your work, your duty. We'll come on to that. But today, you've chosen to speak out for the first time. Why have you decided to talk now?
Because there is no good time to talk about Mr. Epstein and all things associated.
Yeah, that's a very raw scandal, which is currently available on Amazon. It's, I don't know.
I thought that was Margaret Thatcher talking
I know,
at the
it's
beginning.
really
very
low
deep.
and
And I know Emily's got quite a deep voice, but that's very deep, isn't it?
But it's, you know, it's not. It doesn't feel that long ago that the real interview actually happened. So to dramatise it quite so soon, not necessarily sure if it's needed.
Well, I think any remote, tiny, you know, scintilla of hope that Prince Andrew had of ever rehabilitating or just repairing his reputation, you know, and we do know that he's allowed now to attend family events. I think the way the King views it, he is still a member of the family, he is still my younger brother, but you ain't doing any royal work and you ain't doing any public engagements. But we saw him at the Easter service and Christmas at Sandringham. But he's otherwise kept away from the cameras, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
I guess this is a reminder of why, I suppose.
Yes.
Talk about appearing in front of the cameras per se, but Kate was out and about over the weekend.
So this is the first time we've seen the Princess of Wales in public since that video that we've all now seen, the one where she says that she's finished her course of preventative chemotherapy. She was photographed up in Scotland going to church she was with Prince of Wales, but also the King and Queen were there. And they were going to church Crathy Kirk, as it's known, at Balmoral, not far from the Balmoral estate.
Interesting why they were there, because they have already been up. They traditionally go up once during the summer to stay with Pa and Queen Camilla. And there's no reason why they should have been there or not there, but it was quite interesting that they had gone up when they did, because terms already started. They wouldn't ordinarily make that trip to Balmoral. So, clearly there are some reasons for travelling up to have discussions with the King and Queen, and we don't know what they are. But
and reports that the
we thought it was
children
quite
stayed
surprising.
in Windsor.
Yes, exactly.
In the
So
Mail,
I don't have any answers to this. I'm just saying it kind of suggests there was
Why do you
some.
not have the answers? You're both supposed to have the
well,
answers.
this is
we
this is
don't
the
on
point
this
of
one.
podcast.
Oh, there is so much we don't know. We only bring you the bits that we do know. But I think that, there must be a very, quite urgent reason perhaps that they had to go up for the weekend suddenly and leave the children at home. But anyway, she was seen going to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah, and presumably we'll see a bit more of that.
Well, perhaps, yeah. We have had news of a meeting. We talked about that last week, didn't we? And we haven't had any sort of official public engagement as yet. I would have thought she's either going to do it before the King goes to Australia. I doubt very much she'll do it when he's in Australia.
And when is he due to?
That's middle of October.
Okay.
If she does anything back here when he's in Australia, clearly all the focus is going to be on her, and I'm sure he'd expect it to be as well. So I don't think it would happen when he's away. So it's either going to happen before mid-October, her first public engagement after the cancer, or it's going to happen when he gets back, which would be like more beginning of November.
Yeah, and that actually would be after the school half term, so that would fit timing-wise.
Yes, although William does have the Earthshot Award, which he's in South Africa for the week after half term.
And then we get very close to Remembrance Sunday, and we know that it is her hope and her intention that she will be at the cenotaph for that with the rest of her family.
So.
Goodness. We wait and see.
We wait
and see. Well, thanks very much for keeping us up to date with that.
Thank you and actually, I should actually point the standards have risen this week.
Oh.
There are no jeans.
Yes, I'm not in jeans today.
Lizzie's kept her what they called supergras at home.
Supergas.
Oh my God.
And I don't have my trainers on, so I think we are basically...
However, Lizzie does have skinny jeans on. I do have trainers on, so I'd say we're about even.
About even.
I'd say that we are... standards are slowly increasing. And I'd like to think that when the wardrobe attire increases in standards, so will the conversation. So.
Unlikely. Right, that's it from us at Talking Royals this week. Thanks to you both, and also thank you all for listening. Do keep us up to date. We will keep you up to date with all things royal each week by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts or by watching us on ITVX. Do have a look through our back catalogue, of course, for a range of royal topics. But until next time, as ever, thank you for joining us.